and coaches. Do you wish you had a safe social media platform for your youth athletes? Fortunately for you, there's a revolutionary new app that helps with just that. Introducing Small Player, Big Play. Small Player Big Play app provides young athletes, parents, and coaches a user-friendly sports social media platform. The app allows users to connect with friends, make new friends, create groups, text, chat, and post pictures and videos of you and your teammates participating in your favorite sport or activity. To begin, users can simply download and sign up for the app using an email account. Younger users have the ability to sign up using their smartphone and a parent's email address. From there, users can begin to interact and engage with other users of the app. Small Player Big Play app also gives users the ability to live stream full games and events. You can live stream your event so that friends, family, or anyone in the world can see you in action. Users can also share posts from the app to their other social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. What are you waiting for? Get in the game and share your love of sports with the world. Download the Small Player Big Play app today.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here again. You know, we talked about it. It's a lot more fun to be here after the wins. So we'll take it, right? As many of those shows as we can have, we will always sign up for that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Talking after a win is immensely better than talking after a loss. And we're now 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Wilson getting the victory over Penn Manor this past Friday, just a couple nights ago. And we're going to talk about that game and preview the next game and get things rolling here. And believe it or not, as we approach this game 4, we're actually halfway through here.
Yeah.
By the middle of the week, we are halfway through the regular season, which is crazy to think about it because it feels like it just started, but 3 weeks late.
Both are true.
Yes. So we're going to have a good time and, talk about a win. Like you said, it's good.
Yeah.
Always good. It was also senior night Friday.
Yes.
So the school did a great job of recognizing everyone. They did the football and football-related students prior to the game early, but it was broadcast by Wilson Media Productions. Honored the players, the athletic trainers, and the managers who were all part of the class of 2021. Then at halftime, they recognized the cheerleaders and the band members, which was great. Everyone, the parents and family were able to be there, do something that you generally do a few weeks later, closer to the end of the season. But it's just, kind of a blessing and be grateful for if you get it at all. So
Right.
a lot of these schools have decided to do it early.
It's kind of, I feel like having it early, especially right now, kind of fits the idea of trying to make sure that we're grateful and going to take advantage of what we've got right now.
Yeah, for sure. So, good stuff for that event. I did think it was kind of funny that that Wilson got penalized as we started the second half, and it went over a few seconds, a few minutes, I should say, of the allotted time. And I know by rule, if you're not ready to roll by the time the halftime clock says it's time to go, the home team gets penalized, which did happen, but I don't know. I kind of thought that was a little petty, a little unnecessary at this time of what people are trying to do, trying to make sure the students have somewhat of a normal school year and their activities are not hindered. It just kind of felt a little unnecessary. I do not know if that was something that the Penn Manor coaches pointed out or if the refs just decided. We did not conduct our interviews because we're trying to, play it safe, maintain social distancing, not have to worry about masks, because it's very difficult to talk with these on into a microphone as we're doing here now, but to do it on the field after the game, trying to yell, just not cutting it. So we didn't get to ask Doug about that or anything related to any of the games so far. But I don't know, did you hear or see anything about that?
I didn't hear or see anything, but I do know that it was, like you said, it did run a few minutes late, but it is interesting because, like we just mentioned, with the whole idea of having senior night early, there's so much focus on what's best for the kids right now. And it's all about the kids and getting them that experience, and then to be penalized in that moment just kind of seemed to be against what everyone's for. Look, I know what the letter of the rules say, and that's the rule to the letter, to the T, okay, whatever. And thankfully it didn't really change anything.
It didn't really matter,
but yeah, it's kind of okay, that's what we're going to do here, but all right, whatever. That's the way it goes.
I don't like it to get caught up on the principle of the thing, but I don't know. It was just weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pull some things up. Can you play with that to get there we go. Excellent. All right, we got rid of that little fuzz that was happening with Justin's mic. Just these things are very finicky. If they get touched the wrong way, they just start to make random noises. So I'm glad that's over with. Hopefully that wasn't too annoying for everyone. But yeah, so the Penn Manor game was, I think, a little bit like what we expected. I definitely thought Wilson should win, and they did, 35-8. The first team only played into the very early third quarter. I believe they were out by probably about the 8-minute mark, maybe even sooner. At least the majority of them. Some lingered, but they gave way to backups and JV for most of the second half. And once they went up 35-0 and that running clock started, they had seen enough. They didn't need to play any more of the seniors and the starters. Seemed to be a bit unnecessary. And really, the backups and the JV did a great job holding Penn Manor off the scoreboard until the very end. I think they scored with about 1:20 to play.
Yeah.
So it was a good showing all around. A little sluggish at the beginning. It was only 7-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Right.
Penn Manor was feisty and punching them a little bit, not backing down, which you like to see. You don't want to see anyone just roll over and go through the motions. We have seen that in years past with some teams that come, especially coming to Gursky, that just have no interest in playing that game because they don't expect to win. They're just going through the motions.
Right.
That was not Penn Manor.
No, not at all.
They were ready to go. Their sideline was excited. Their players were excited. And they were weathering the storm through the first quarter and into the second. And then about halfway through the second quarter is when the floodgates kind of broke open.
Well, and then it was still only 14-0 with a few minutes left in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wilson scored twice in the last 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes.
3 times in the final 6 minutes and then twice in the final 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. So, because I think Wilson got the ball with maybe 2.5 minutes left, and then they also got the ball back with 33 seconds left, and they scored touchdowns on both of those.
Right.
To balloon it up from 14 to 28.
Yeah.
Talk about a huge difference. Oh, and you're getting the ball to start the second half. So
exactly.
that was awesome to see. And I know things got rolling, and it's one thing to do it, when everything's going your way, but that's a great step to see, is that late half offense running smoothly.
Unfortunately, we did get a little bit nicked up. Starting running back Jaden Jones left the game, I think, midway through the second or early in the second quarter. Don't have an injury update on that. That's not something that we deal with, but just wanted to point it out that he did not play most of the game. But it was okay because Caleb Brown was back at quarterback. He picked up the slack in the rushing game, and that's not to diminish the contributions of junior running back Gavin Leonard, who had another touchdown run himself.
Mm-hmm.
So backfield looking good. Still without his brother, though. Mason did not play, did not dress, and also without wide receiver and defensive back Troy Corson, who did dress but did not play.
Correct.
So we'll see what happens this week as the Bulldogs will travel to McCaskey this Friday, October 9th. and we'll see who they have available and who plays for that game. We're not quite at the preview for that, so that's all we're going to say for the moment. But before we dive into the highlights and stats from the game against the Comets, let's do a little bit of our announcements and house cleaning and the stuff we like to do here. Recognize the fine folks that help us make sure this show goes on, and that would be my dad at May's Sandwich Shop and Small Player Big Play, the local app for youth sports. A lot of high schools in Berks County and the surrounding area have been using Small Player Big Play to broadcast not just their football games, but a variety of other fall athletic competitions. It is a free app with the ability to purchase items in-app to make the experience better, but I definitely recommend everyone check it out. Again, it is free to download on both Google and Apple devices, and you can check out some local high school athletic competitions right inside the app itself. We also want to thank our 2 anonymous donors who stepped up again this year to support the show. Definitely appreciate them. And in addition to those donations, sponsorship, and advertising opportunities, we hope you will visit the website, bulldoghour.com. I've been posting information there as I get it from the school district and the athletic department relating to game streams. There will be a live stream of the game this week at McCaskey, so we've been told. There is a link that I will be getting out this week. It will be the first time it's not through YouTube, which may be upsetting to you. But again, this has nothing to do with Wilson and everything to do with Lancaster McCaskey, with JP McCaskey High School. They have a broadcast platform which is run through like Microsoft and IBM, I believe. I do not know if you're able to pull it onto your televisions. This may be a computer-only thing. Haven't dove into the details of it yet. Hopefully we'll clear that up as this week goes on. But again, the game will be streamed. You will be able to watch it. It may only be on your phone or your computer and not on your television. Hopefully we can figure that out this week. But make sure you follow all of our accounts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and anything we post, like and share. That's a great way to spread the word.
Absolutely, like and share. Going, like you said, this is the second time Wilson will be going on the road. I know the township stream was through YouTube, which is you can watch it literally the same way that you watch the Wilson ones, just a different YouTube channel. This one will be a little bit different, but like you said, you'll be sending out the link. I think you can find it through the athletic department stuff, and any updates to that, I'm sure you will be on top of and get that info out this week.
As soon as I get final confirmation and information or do a little digging myself, I will post that information on the Wilson football pages on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well on the Bulldog Hour pages and the website as well, bulldoghour.com, which is a great place to get information about the show, the program, all the craziness happening with the COVID situations and the restrictions going on. And bulldoghour.com. Make sure you're checking that out often. We will be back next Sunday, October 11th, for a look at the game that we just kind of were talking about, Wilson at McCaskey. This Friday the 9th, we'll recap it on Sunday the 11th, same time and place, and we hope you'll join us then. So, looking at the schedule, like we said, we're technically sort of halfway through or about to be halfway through.
Yeah, probably like Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
And depending on how you look at it, we're only guaranteed really 6 games,
right?
Because that 7th game is up in the air. So really, the 6 games we know are happening, we're halfway.
Yeah.
We had the game 1 loss to Mifflin, but then the game 2 and game 3 wins at Manheim Township and then versus Penn Manor. Now we go at McCaskey this week, then host Cedar Crest and Hempfield in back-to-back weeks. Win out, Wilson wins the Section 1 championship outright. No ties, no shares, and it'll be the first time that's happened since 2016. So they got to take care of things on the road on a grass field in Lancaster this Friday night before returning to Gursky for the final 2 games against Cedar Crest and Hempfield. And like I said, you win these next 3 weeks, you win the section championship, and based on my calculations, you would secure a spot in the 4-team District 3 6A playoff field. Of course, there's a lot of guessing going into that because I don't know how all the games are going to play out. I can do my best. But I think should Wilson win out, finish 5-1, Section 1 champs of the Lancaster Lebanon League, they will be in the 4-team field. And depending on what happens with Central Dauphin, Central York, and York William Penn, they will have some stiff competition. All three of them may be undefeated.
It's a bit of a flashback, all the craziness aside, to back when we were in school, how there were 4 teams that made it, and it wasn't 6 division, there were 4.
Yeah.
So at 4A, you didn't have 16 teams roughly vying for.
If you lost a
4
game,
spots.
you were on the bubble.
Yeah. And if you were a smaller school, like if you were in the wrong section of your league, you could be undefeated and hoping to get in, like not the 1 seed, like those old 4A playoffs of 4 teams. Whew.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah, my sophomore year in the fall of 2000, we lost in week, was it 4? I think it was actually our first league game at Cedar Crest, the Jaron Hayes and Brandon Kirsch team, and we might not be making the playoffs now.
Right.
We won out 9-1, did make the playoffs, thankfully, but you lose 1 game and you're thinking, well, we might not be making the playoffs, and that was the case this year too. So that's why the first game was there's a double impact there, losing to your rival, but also losing in a shortened season that you might not make the playoffs. Really, that game now a little over a week ago at Manheim Township was a season saver. You might not have known it at the time,
right? And you have to have work to do to finish it out. It means that week 2 game means more each week.
Yes,
each week you continue to do your job and get the job done. That week 2 game means more,
and hopefully they can fight through the adversity in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then that game against Hempfield, who knows what Hempfield and Manheim Township do. I think they might play. Do they play this week or the next week? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Especially, though, if Hempfield beats Manheim Township, that sets up Game 6 as the section championship game.
Right.
So both teams would be undefeated going into that game, should Hempfield beat Manheim Township whenever they play this week or next. So take care of your business. You got, one of your big goals, one of them, you want to beat Mifflin. You want to win your section and make the playoffs and then and get to districts. Those are the big ones. And you control your destiny for that second one.
Yep.
That's in your control. So, they got off on the right foot, beating Township and Penn Manor.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's take a look at the game recap. About 2 minutes long here, courtesy of Huddle, and we'll talk about it as it goes, or I'll talk about it, and Justin will chip in as he sees fit. So, all right. So October 2nd, Wilson, Penn Manor. It was a nice night for football. That was for sure.
Beautiful.
Like we said, it was a little bit. It was a tough going early. There was a strong showing from the Comets. They were driving, and then a nice big hit along the sideline caused a fumble. Wilson recovered, and later on that series, Wilson would eventually get in the end zone. Here was a nice pass from Caleb Brown to junior wide receiver, Drake. And maybe they didn't score on that series. I'm confused. They will eventually score. We will see that. Yeah. Here it is. Oh, no, they didn't show it. Why would you not pick out a touchdown in the highlight? So what you didn't see is the touchdown from Jaden Jones in the first quarter. That put Wilson up 7-0. Then later in the second quarter, here you're going to see the 39-yard touchdown run from Caleb Brown. He looked great, very agile and elusive on that one. A lot of fun. That put Wilson up 14-0 midway through the second. And then here right now you're seeing Gavin Leonard's touchdown run. Another big one too for the bruising running back. He took that one from 30 or 40 yards out, which was great to see. That put Wilson up 21-0. And here once again, you're seeing towards the end of the second quarter, Caleb Brown scramble, getting them deep inside Penn Manor territory, and Wilson would eventually score to go up 28-0 at the half. Then to start quarter 3, Wilson received the kickoff, went down the field on a bit of a deflected pass that ended up in the hands of Adrian Santana, who rumbled for a while, and Wilson would eventually score on a Caleb Brown to Sean Dendel touchdown reception. 35-0. JVs, backups and JVs get some time. And that's how it ended. So a good all-around showing for Wilson. Again, started a little slow, but recovered, kept fighting.
I know on last week's show we kind of referenced last year's game against Penn Manor. And while this week you could also say was a slow start, it wasn't of the magnitude of the slow start last year at Penn Manor. There were some things where we were a little sloppier, I thought, this week than we were the week before. Some pre-snap penalties, things like that, which hadn't really been an issue in either of the previous two games. So, I don't really know what was going on there. It wasn't like it was out of control, but just like a few of them. Those are things you hope to shore up. But they got it under control. There was nothing, major. I thought the defense played, and that was one of the keys. Like, the defense was playing well. So, like, if it takes the offense a little bit of time to get clicking, then that's what you have. You have the ability to do that if the defense is on top of their game, and they were pretty much ready to go. So that was a big help. And then the offense gets rolling in the I guess in the first quarter, but in that second quarter, they really start clicking and started scoring on back-to-back drives and everything. Like that's when things start to get going in your favor pretty quickly. And it was fun to see. It was fun to see guys step up, because while Caleb was back this week, which was great, I know Gannon got some time at safety this week. Being able to see, like, guys, so Jaden got some carries early on, like you said, he got the touchdown, but then Gavin Leonard stepping up again and getting some carries. I think when I looked at the stats on Friday night, I think there were 6 different guys received a pass. Now that might include Adrian. I'm sure it does include Adrian, catching a deflection. Like, but
it was 6,
distributing the ball around. Sean Dendel coming up with some nice catches. Like he had some before. He had at least one. I know the one sticks out because we talked about it when he caught it, and it was cool to see him and Jack. Like, Jack was really excited for him, but then he got the touchdown later on, and it was crazy.
That was funny, because
I'm pretty sure that's Sean's first varsity touchdown.
I think you're correct. Yeah,
and.
Well, the earlier one may have been his first varsity catch.
Right, like I don't know, but I believe it's his first this year.
But I'm
not exactly sure.
Time last year at the end of games, but yes.
Well, you do know a lot about Wilson football. It's not quite that much.
Yeah, not quite that. I don't have that much knowledge. I can't remember all those things,
but seeing guys like that step up and being excited for them, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see the Dendel brothers celebrate the first reception and then the touchdown. The celebration on the touchdown kind of got muted though because Sean's helmet got lodged in with the Penn Manor defender's helmet. They got locked.
Right.
They couldn't get up. They couldn't get them separated. So Sean actually, I think, took his helmet off.
Right. I saw.
And then the Penn Manor took his helmet off, and then they started banging him on the turf to get him to disconnect, which immediately made me think about going back to 2000 again. Practice, one offensive practice, offensive line stuff. So with Coach Brubaker and Coach Stoppeye, and the players are very concerned about the way they look with the uniforms and the helmets and the style and everything. And Coach Stoppeye was a big proponent of the single bar.
Right.
And we didn't like that. We wanted them open or maybe with the loop.
Right.
And Mike Nelson had, I think, changed or requested to have the loop. And during practice this one day, someone else's helmet got lodged together. And I remember Coach Stoppeye holding up the two helmets and yelling at Mike Nelson, "Look what happens when you don't have the single bar." As soon as I saw that Friday night, that's immediately what I thought about was, Coach Stoppeye telling Mike Nelson he needs the single bar.
From my vantage point, I couldn't tell what happened. It didn't look like an injury because no trainers were running out onto the field, but the pile-ish was still kind of there, and everybody was just kind of standing around. I had no idea what was going on. And then I saw when they broke the helmets apart, I could tell what happened, but but it was a great job. Lots of guys stepping up. I think Jabari had a couple of catches. It was nice to see. It was nice to see the distribution.
Yeah, it was great. Like you said, 6 different receivers, and that's with that's with Troy not even there. So
Right.
with him out, you have 6 people stepping up.
Right, and if Mason is there, Mason is certainly a threat out of the backfield to catch a pass. Yeah, like that's really good to have that distribution. Corey Powers has really stepped up at tight end, which is nice to see.
And at linebacker.
Yes, yeah.
So this is the start of one of the seniors stepping up that you need every year, and it's a Wilson staple. It's a tradition. We talk about it every year. We ask the question, usually to the coaches. This year we only got to ask the players, who is a senior that's going to step in and fill a role and be a big-time guy. Right now, Corey Powers is one of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great for him. He was a captain this week. They only have one captain per team for each game this season, and Corey had his night at Penn Manor, which was great. So talking about statistics from the Bulldogs win over the Comets, first downs, Wilson doubled up Penn Manor 20-10. Most of them coming on the ground in the rushing game with 13. 254 net yards rushing, another good showing from the Bulldogs on the ground, which will make the old timers happy.
Yeah.
Ground and pound. 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Not exactly that way with the way the offense runs nowadays, but anytime you can go over 200 yards rushing.
Back-to-back weeks.
Yep. So they rushed the ball 38 times, gained about 6.7 yards per rush.
But think about that. Over 200 yards rushing and 6 people caught the ball.
Yeah.
Like, that is a balanced offensive attack. Like, and to get Caleb back there, back in the swing of things, that's kind of what you would want to see, because he had a great night on the ground running, and he was also able to distribute the ball, and we're going to need both those things moving forward.
Wilson passed for 134 yards, meaning their total offense was at 388, which doubled up Penn Manor, who finished with 191. So good sign there. No fumbles from the Bulldogs. Did have the one interception. Like you already mentioned, though, a lot of penalties. Wilson was penalized 8 times for 62 yards, but only had to punt twice. We saw Caleb punt and Jack Wagner, who had a really good punt,
great punt.
in the game this week. And the team did what they needed to do. They controlled time of possession when it mattered in those first 3 quarters, and they were good on third down. That's one thing that they struggled a bit at Manheim Township last week, but this week 10 of 15 on third down.
One is which is kind of, now I don't know exactly where all the penalties came, but that's something that you can sometimes see when there's lots of penalties. You sometimes end up in the longer third downs, and then you have lower conversion rates. Like that can be an issue, but keeping it third and manageable, being able to run the ball successfully on first or second down to keep that yardage like reasonable is really, really a big thing. I really liked how just like little things. I know, and I don't know if there were any changes, but I know Adrian Santana, I think, was tied for the lead in tackles. But I know you'll go through the stats then. But I felt like there were a couple, I want to say big plays, because like Wilson was in control, but like at a couple times where they got something here, let's stop them. Like he had a couple big tackles at big times, at least in terms of like hearing his name. Little things though, like Tenga, I felt like he looks a lot more comfortable catching the punts on punt returns. Like the first week, first week he's thrown out there in the middle of the game because some people, because of injuries and stuff. So like that's completely understandable. But like, he's coming up to try and field the ball. He looked good on defense. He read a screen
very
well.
Yep. Yeah, he had the hit stick. That would have been a jacked up segment if they ever did that anymore.
Yeah.
He laid a big hit on the Penn Manor receiver.
Yeah. But just like seeing some of those young guys becoming more comfortable is huge. And it's not to say that they're there yet, but we've looked at it a couple times the last few weeks. Like they're certainly, like we mentioned already on the show, they're definitely seniors who are stepping up and getting it done. And we have seniors that are going to work their way back as they get healthy. Right. That's awesome. But there's also underclassmen that are working their way in and becoming more comfortable, making the most of the experience. And that just adds depth, hopefully, as the season goes on, if you can get some of those, upperclassmen back. that just adds depth that you have, and that's a good thing in the big picture. Obviously, short term when you're kind of scrambling and having to put guys in new positions and all things, that can be rough. But if you can weather that storm, you can try to make a positive out of it.
I think we're going to do defense statistics here first because we always start with offense, so let's throw the defense a little bit of love.
That's right.
I think 5 of the 6 leading tacklers from the week are all underclassmen. Now, there weren't a ton of tackles to go around. There were a lot of incomplete passes or plays go out of bounds, so nothing overwhelming. You were correct. Adrian was tied for the league on the team for tackles. He finished with 3.5 with junior John Tomeo from his defensive back position and special teams play. They both had 3.5, 3 solo and an assist. Fernandez, also 3 tackles for him as well, and he could see an increased role with injuries in the secondary. Eric Jackson, once again, playing a cornerback. He chipped in 2, as did Josh Drake. He actually had 2.5 and forced one of the fumbles. So great game from Josh Drake as well. You just mentioned Spencer Tenga had that one big hit. He had 2 tackles, and then Ethan Capitano with 2, and one of them for loss. Not a lot of big plays in the backfield, no sacks, but a couple good tackles for losses.
There wasn't a ton of throws downfield.
Right.
A lot of
a lot of quick passes,
right.
A lot of runs. They didn't really set up for any thing to try to air it out. Didn't have a lot of time to get to the quarterback.
Another big hit that sticks out, I believe it was Alex Ortiz on a kickoff.
It was, yeah.
Coverage. He caught the kid square in the chest.
Yeah, there was some good tackling.
But I like to see the aggressiveness, the flying around. That's all good stuff.
Yep, for sure. So offensively speaking, most of it revolves around the returning gunslinger quarterback, Caleb Brown. He had 10 rushes for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns with a long run of 39, which was one of the touchdowns. So averaged 11.5 per carry, which is great to see. Jaden did have 11 carries for 50 yards and a score, but again, we mentioned he left the game early with an injury. Gavin Leonard next up, 8 carries for 54 yards and 1 touchdown, 24 yards on that one. And it was nice to see later in the game in the third quarter, Jason Beckford come in underclassmen.
He looked nice.
6 carries for 33 yards. He looked very solid.
Yeah.
So if I don't know if Jaden doesn't play this week, if Mason's still out, you could see Gavin Leonard and Jason Beckford getting carries in the backfield, and that doesn't strike fear in me. So that's a good thing.
Right. It's important to get those carries in because, like you said, not knowing what the availability will be for some guys moving forward, to get guys experience, Yeah,
I mean, when you can rely on Leonard, Jones, Beckford, and Brown with a quarterback, that's a pretty talented backfield.
When kind of like what I was referencing before with the punt returns, being able to get guys experience in the second half against Penn Manor when you're up big versus when Mifflin is coming at you till the end, it's just a whole different level. Everybody's heads were spinning, right? On that first Friday night. Everybody's heads were spinning by the end, kind of didn't know what hit them, and it was out of control, right? So it can be hard in the moment to learn from that. As you move on, as you look at the film, as you kind of go on, hopefully you learn and you get better. And it appears as though that's the track we're kind of taking. But being able to get some of those successes under your belt, go out there and, make the big tackle or make the big hit or, catch the pass or all those things, just kind of so that starts to feel normal. That starts to feel like this is what I expect to do when I'm out there. You're not nervous about getting that first catch or that first tackle or getting hit for the first. All of that is gone now. And so that's why handling your business in this game and being able to get that experience in the second half for so many of those guys is so big. We've talked about that how many times, throughout the years. Sometimes there's games and it's, the end of the third quarter and we're like, these guys shouldn't have to still be in this game. What are we doing? Now, we've been also fortunate enough that we've covered probably more games where they have handled their business and we've been able to kind of get those guys in. But that's a big part of it, especially in the shortened season where you don't know how many of those opportunities you're going to get.
Right. So Continuing a look at the stats from the quarterback passing, Caleb threw the majority of the attempts were done by Caleb Brown. He was 12 of 25, 134 yards passing with the one touchdown, to Sean Dendel, who tied for the receiving lead in receptions with 3 for 30 yards. Josh Drake actually had 3 for 38 yards, but Dendel got the touchdown. Jabbar Diaby had 2 for 24 yards. Corey Powers, 2 for 7. Adrian had that big off the deflection, the reception for 31 yards, and then Andon DeJesus chipped in 1 for 4. So there are your 6 receivers who caught a pass from Caleb on Friday night. That pretty much covers it, though, in terms of main contributors to the important part of the game when it was still in doubt or trying to figure out how the game was going to go. And, well, it's time to announce our player of the game. I felt like this one was pretty straightforward. I think the return of your quarterback and then the way that he plays, by and large, was incredibly strong and powerful, because he was able to do it with not just his arm but his legs as well. And, over 240 yards of offense, whatever I said it was, and 2 rushing touchdowns as well as a passing score. So Caleb Brown is our Bulldog Hour player of the game for the victory over Penn Manor. So it's great to see him back out there and leading the team. And hopefully he can have a couple of his other teammates back this week as we head to McCaskey.
Yeah, it was great to see him out there. It was fun to see him, after kind of getting banged around week 1, not being able to go in week 2, to get back out there. And then when he kind of scrambled out, I'm like, all right, let's see what he's got. I'm not literally saying it, but in my head, I'm thinking like, all right, what's he going to do here? And he turned on the jets and off he goes. And you're like, okay, I guess that answers that, so
Right.
that's fun to see. And it's good to see, good for him. It looks like he's kind of handling that and being able to manage that and getting back to, the Caleb we know is capable to go out there and be a threat through the air or on the ground like
Right.
that. Just not knowing, because you're not going to see that in warm-ups, So when you see him kind of take off, you're like, okay. And then to see him hit and a number of those passes to those variety of receivers, you said, were kind of like timing route things, like maybe, 5 and out or something. So
Right.
like you're seeing like where the timing has to be there. And, for a guy who was out the previous week, you never know what that's going to be like. So building that up is also huge.
Absolutely. So that is our player of the game, and that will probably put a feather in the cap of our recap of Wilson's victory over Penn Manor. So congratulations to Caleb, the coaches and the players, for a great senior night victory. All right, so as we round up here in the final 20 minutes of our 9th episode of this 6th season of the Bulldog Hour, we're going to now take a look at Game 4 in Lancaster at JP McCaskey this Friday night, October 9th. Again, the game will be streamed. We'll have more information about that for you later this week. Not a lot to say about McCaskey. Before we move on to McCaskey, this was Wilson's 30th straight win against Penn Manor. They're also undefeated against Penn Manor.
Right.
They have never lost to the Comets. 30-0.
I know we've brought that up when we discussed that game. That was a huge stat early to mid last decade.
Yeah.
And
the years of Charlie Bell.
I know. I know. Adam and I always talk about when we went up to a game, and I think it was Cody Booth, who I believe went to Temple and played. It was one of those where maybe 16 out of 20 times they'd make an announcement, whether offense or defense, it's Cody Booth on the reception or Cody Booth with the tackle. He was the Charlie Bell before the Charlie Bell there. And it was just, those teams. Whew.
Yeah. Something, they just couldn't get over that Wilson hump.
Right. And to look back how it didn't happen.
Well, they thought it was going to happen in 2012, especially because it was at their place. We had to go to Millersville to play at Beamsdorfer Stadium. and Dominic Negrelli returned interception for a touchdown.
Fastest I've ever seen him run.
Helped Wilson win 14-7 in 2012. We know how that season ended with a district championship. 2013, though, they have basically everyone back, including Charlie Bell, and Wilson has very little back.
Right.
Now, thankfully, Matt Timochenko actually had his first start at Penn Manor in 2012 and was back at quarterback in 2013. So you had a returning starter at quarterback, but had only played like 5 games as the starter. But not a lot was back for Wilson. Right. You lost Junior Joseph and Matt Rothrock, and there were so many of that 2012 Jesse Poore and Jimmy Brooks. There were so many talented players that had left, and that was I think that was the year that people predicted Wilson to go 6-4, and I think that really fired up that 2013 team, because not only did they beat the Penn Manor team in the regular season in comeback fashion, they also shut him out in the playoffs. Right, both games at Gursky.
Yeah.
So
that was a fun one.
That was a fun one for sure. So McCaskey, they're on a 20-game losing streak. They were 0-10 last year in Sam London's first year as head coach. He's back this year. They started 0-3. They lost last week to Hempfield, and they lost the final 7 games of their 2018 season. So 0-20 over the last basically 2 years. So they're struggling. Not a lot going their way. I know they got blown out by, I can't remember what happened in week 1 with them, but I know they got blown out by Cedar Crest and Hempfield back-to-back weeks.
I hope they can get it together next week. Not this week, next week.
They've given up, I believe, over 40 points to their 2 section opponents in Cedar Crest and Hempfield, and haven't scored, I think, more than a touchdown or so in each of them. They are struggling to gain yardage on the ground. Last week, they got 45 yards on 36 carries, which is
not going to get it done.
Great. Yeah, not great. So it's not even 1.5 yards per carry, just a little over 1 yard a carry. So not great. Now,
to go back to your reference earlier, there's no 3.5 in a cloud of dust. It's just a cloud of dust.
Yeah. Now that's kind of thrown off because of the sacks to the quarterback, because according to Jeff Reinert here, their running back Shamir Covington gained 67 yards on 12 carries, which is over 5 yards a carry, which is pretty good for a running back. But the rest of McCaskey's rushers were held to minus 22 yards on 24 carries. So if Covington wasn't getting it, McCaskey wasn't gaining yards, and they also were surrendering lost yardage to quarterback sacks. Matthew Remash and Javon Parker were the quarterbacks. They are rotating quarterbacks as well, and they were 8 of 18 for 117 yards. However, just about half of those yards came in the final seconds of the game when the Hempfield starters were no longer in. So not a very dynamic offense. We've seen this before, and I feel like every time Wilson goes there, they come out swinging and they hit on a big play. It doesn't always go for a touchdown, but they'll hit on a big play early. Yeah. So the defense needs to be ready for that. They need to be ready for the athleticism. These players are very electric when they have time. So if you disrupt the quarterback tandem, you should be okay. They have a big imposing line, but they don't move very well. And they're still gelling. It is a young team. I don't think they have too many senior starters, but this shouldn't be a difficult task if you play your game. But that's the problem, getting out of looking ahead or overlooking the team.
Right, like we said, every game is big right now. Every single one. If you slip up, that's huge. You have to handle your business this week. Nothing else really matters this week. We saw, like we said, it was a little slow to start against Penn Manor. Not to be unexpected. Not that makes it okay. But, you kind of feel it coming, I guess. Also with the drawn out and different, pregame, because they did, they had the senior night stuff starting roughly half hour before they would normally start warm up. Like, there was just all kinds of things going on that were just different this week. So to go back on the road, last time you went on the road, you were successful. Do it again, kind of go in there with that mission, with that purpose. Understand that, like they've got, some guys over there where if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, next thing you know, I might be chasing him down the sideline as he runs by me, so you got to be ready. If you do what you're supposed to do, the team should be fine. And that's, like I said, there's no one, obviously, that's the expectation, but the expectation doesn't necessarily make it happen. You have to go make it happen. So hopefully they're able to get in that mindset, and make the improvements and handle their business again this coming week, similarly to what we did a couple nights ago.
Much like Wilson, they have a really strong kicker punter in Sam Hershey. One of the big bright spots with McCaskey is him. He's getting recruited. And also, I remember this name from last year, defensive back Jasir Williams is a big-time playmaker in the defensive backfield, someone that quarterback Caleb Brown is going to be aware of where he is and who he's covering. See someone that can definitely make a play for the Red Tornado. So we will be traveling to Lancaster for this game. It's a little bit of an interesting situation. As of the last time we knew, Wilson had been told that we could only bring 65 people into the stadium, which should, make everyone think, that doesn't sound right. That's because there's 74 players alone on the roster, not counting, I believe, 12 coaches, at least 2 to 3 film people. Oh, not to mention about 12 athletic trainers and equipment managers. So it's quite the number crunch. And usually your bus and truck drivers get to come in and watch the game while they wait for you. So Wilson's traveling party is usually up around 105. The team is being limited to 65 inside the stadium, and that is all obviously related to what is going on right now. Now, supposedly there is going to be new guidance released this week in terms of spectators and numbers at high school athletic events. Hopefully they'll adopt some kind of capacity percentage, much like they do with restaurants, that will allow those restrictions to be eased, and that the full teams for both teams, because McCaskey was limiting themselves to 65 as well, not to get that, make sure that everyone knows this wasn't going to be they have the ability to have their 100 there. No, it's not true. Both teams were going to just do 65 and 65. The rest, I don't know where the rest was going.
Again,
that's what was happening.
We are telling you what it is. We weren't deciding that.
Right. But if that capacity plan comes out, and they do 20, 25, 30%, whatever it ends up being, that should ease things a bit to allow more personnel, especially, the kids and coaches that are working all week long to actually be there on the sideline with each other, and the ability to play when necessary, and not have to shuttle in between the stadium and outside the stadium. But, everyone's been making do for the last 7 months. Why should this be any different?
Hey, modern, like you said, modern solutions to modern problems.
Exactly.
Right?
That's where we're at.
So, hopefully, like you said, hopefully there are developments that kind of ease the complication, or I guess instead of ease the complication, I should say simplify the situation a little bit. I'm not gonna bank on that, just because of just the way everything has kind of gone in that department. However, like I know Wilson will be on top of it and have that figured out. They'll be ready to roll no matter what. But again, can't let those things. If you're the team, you can't let that distract you from what you're going there to do. You're going there to handle your business and come back with the win, and hopefully they'll be able to do that. I'm confident they'll be able to do that.
Now I'm trying to pull this out of the back of my mind, this stat, but I believe McCaskey hasn't beaten Wilson since, I want to say 2004. It might even be 2003. Maybe it's 2003.
Yeah, that 2002 season through 2006 season. no, 2005 season, I guess. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, those seasons are the ones that I don't necessarily know.
I know very well about 2002
season I know about, but the 3, 4, 5s I don't know a ton about because that's while I was away.
Yeah, I know 2003 Wilson lost 3 games, and I think one of them was to McCaskey. I think that was part of the back-to-back stat that I had last week, where Wilson hasn't lost back-to-back games since 2003, and I believe that was to Hempfield and McCaskey. So I think that was the last time Wilson may have lost.
Again, this is one of those things where we sound like the old guys here when we're just like back in our day, but like, man, McCaskey, was look at it when we were in school, Division I quarterback, like Power 5 quarterback, you know. Man, you look at LL Section 1, my junior year had 3 Power 5 quarterbacks in it.
Yeah.
It's Syracuse quarterback, Purdue quarterback, Michigan quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
All in Section 1 of
Section
the LL.
1 LL, yep.
Insane.
Yeah, so the team did go undefeated in section play in 2004. So the last time McCaskey beat Wilson was in 2003. Yes, so they lost. That's the breaking of the tape game. Related to that.
Yeah.
McCaskey beat Wilson in Lancaster 31-14, and then Wilson went to Hempfield the next week and lost 27-24. That's the last time Wilson lost back-to-back games. September 26, 2003, October 3rd, 2003. So actually 17 years ago yesterday was the last time Wilson lost back-to-back games. And last time Wilson lost to McCaskey, September 26, 2003.
There you go.
So, over 17 years since McCaskey has beaten Wilson. And we play them every year.
Yep.
So we're on quite the winning streak at the moment.
Let's keep it rolling.
But you're right. For those years when you and I were in high school, the 2 tough teams were Cedar Crest and McCaskey. Those are the 2 big ones.
And Reading.
Oh, and Reading, right. Well, I'm thinking, I know they are LL. They were LL just like Mifflin. But like in terms of Lancaster Lebanon teams, not the Berks teams. The 2 big Lancaster Lebanon teams were Cedar Crest and McCaskey. Now, McCaskey was historically pretty good in the 80s and 90s, so that wasn't much of a surprise. So Cedar Crest, that actually was like the best teams that they've ever had.
Yes.
There was another one, I think, in the just a few years earlier, like 96, 97, somewhere in there. We beat them, and then actually upset us in the playoffs a couple weeks later.
That's where Frank Reich went to school.
It is, and Anton Fernsler.
Yes.
But, yeah, McCaskey just since those teams graduated in the early 2000s, they really have struggled. So, for our sake, hopefully that doesn't change this week.
I'm telling you, 2 weeks, they can turn around. That's fine.
Right. They can go on a winning streak 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But not this Friday. Not this Friday. This Friday is all about the Bulldogs. So stay tuned to our social media pages for information on the game, how it's going to be streamed, where you can watch it. It will be available, and as we get clarification on that information, we will let you know. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to listen to an advertisement from Small Player, Big Play.
Using Small Player, Big Play app, the all-sports social media app for young athletes. Live stream events for your friends and family who can't be there. At home or at work, they can watch your streaming on their phones or on TV by using a mirroring device or AirPlay 2. Download the app from the App Store or Google Play and create an account using a valid email address. That's it. Now you can find friends, join groups, or make new ones. You can upload and watch your own content for free. Watch YouTube uploads for free. Even more streaming options are available with our subscription plans and in-app purchases. Download the app and start sharing with the world your passion for sports today.
All right, so once again, we want to thank May's Sandwich Shop and Small Player Big Play for sponsoring the show. And if you're interested in sponsoring us as well, you can send us an email, show@bulldoghour.com or joe@bulldoghour.com, or just visit the website, bulldoghour.com. All right, Justin, anything else to say to close out the show?
No, just, we saw, there were some improvements, each week. We need to keep that going, because while winning the games against Penn Manor, for example, help you get to your goal, that's not like the end goal. You know what I mean? So can't be satisfied with that. Need to keep working and be better this week, and then the week after that. So this is a chance to go clean some things up and show that you're getting better. And the way to do that is to show up and handle your business from the start.
If the team gets better each week, which is always the goal, and they stay focused and grounded, 1 week at a time, which they always say, the coach speak runs rampant, but it's true. It's a cliche, it's a stereotype because it's true. You have to take it 1 week at a time. So right now, you focus on McCaskey. You don't start thinking about Cedar Crest until Friday night at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So take care of things in Lancaster this Friday, return home for 2 weeks at Gursky, and possibly clinch an undefeated run in Section 1 play in this abbreviated season and win your first outright title since 2016.
Yeah,
so
let's hope.
That's where we're at, but I think that's it. So thanks for tuning in to episode 6-9 of the Bulldog Hour. We will be back for the 10th episode of our 6th season next Sunday night, October 11th. We hope you'll join us, but until then, remember, go Bulldogs!
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.